Hi, I'm Laura, your connection coach. Have you ever felt lonely? In a world that feels increasingly divided, it is more important than ever to find ways to connect with others. Loneliness is a common experience, but it doesn't have to be a permanent one. On the Bliss Republic podcast, we explore all the ways we connect with each other and discuss the benefit of having strong relationships. We believe that the key to overcoming loneliness is connection. My guests come from all walks of life and will hear about their unique experience with connection. Whether you're looking to deepen your existing relationships, build new ones, or simply feel more connected to the world around you, the Bliss Republic podcast is for you. Today on the Bliss Republic podcast, we've got one of my dear friends, Ali Skiba, who is a sound healer, a breathwork facilitator, and a vocal empowerment coach. Ali has been featured on The Voice Australia, bringing sound healing to the mainstream for the first time in the show's history, channeling a song on the spot for over 2 million people worldwide. You're also the founder of Melodiousyogi, offering transformative sound healing and voice activation to help individuals unlock their innate body's healing ability. Based out of Sydney, operating globally with online courses and mentorship programs and international festival appearances. Thank you so much and welcome to the Bliss Republic podcast today.
Thank you, darling. Good to see you. Good to be here.
How did we initially meet? I think we had a bit of a funky night out back in our old lives. I was out with two of my girlfriends in a bar in Sydney. You were out and just moved to Sydney. So you ran into us as a group and we just immediately clicked and connected. A lot has happened since.
Yeah, that was great. I was just casually drinking an old fashioned alone at the bar. And found friends. So yay.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And that was probably about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah. Since you've become a sound healer, and I know that this has been part of your journey for quite the time, and you've been coming to Australia in and out of corporate, doing your thing, going with the flow, and now you are taking the leap to really fully, or you have actually taken the leap to fully immerse yourself in sound healing. What does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so it's been a journey, but day to day is a mix. So I'm not just doing sound healing, I'm a breathwork facilitator and also doing vocal empowerment coaching. So today, for example, I had a mentorship client and I'm helping her spin up her first women's circle. And yesterday I had 3 voice activation clients. Yeah, yesterday I also went to the gym, infrared sauna, took an ice bath. So my mornings I keep to myself. I really tend to my mind, body, and spirit. And then in the afternoons, I work with clients, whether it's for a breathwork journey, sound healing, voice activation, or general mentorship. So it's quite fluid and every day is a little bit different. It's been, yeah, really, really empowering to be able to carve my own schedule and have my mornings to myself. And it's been a long, long journey to get here, but I'm happy to say I'm here and I'm not going back.
What were, if you say a long journey, what were the obstacles that you think really shaped your journey?
Well, I guess it's probably helpful to take it back to exit corporate round 1. So this was back in 2018. I was working in San Francisco, engineering program manager. I had climbed the corporate ladder. I had the dream job with the dream car, living in a great city, and yet I was miserable. I was working with teams globally, rallying, or as I say, nerd herding in the software space, and I was deeply, deeply miserable. I was depressed, I was anxious, I was using drugs and alcohol, I was drinking tons of wine to just sort of silence my feelings and to quiet the pain that I was in. I didn't know what I wanted or what I needed. I just knew that I wasn't where I was supposed to be, and I had spent my whole life trying to get there and felt a bit lost, really lost. And I threw myself into a yoga teacher training where it was sort of the gateway drug to all things spirituality for me. And within a year of getting that teacher training, I I ended up quitting my job, selling everything I owned, and booked a one-way ticket to Panama to work on a boat in the Caribbean. Traveled around different countries, studied sound healing in India, did ayahuasca in Peru, meditated for 10 hours a day, 10 days straight in Sri Lanka. I was looking for answers from every healer, every guru, every shaman I could find, because I thought that there was maybe something wrong with me and they needed to fix me. And it wasn't until I discovered breathwork at one of the yoga studios when I was in Bali, and I unearthed this profound sense of peace that I didn't know I had access to. It was like I was living in a perpetual state of fight or flight. My nervous system was just on high, on fight or flight the whole time, pretty much my whole adult life. And I did breath work, and it was like, wow, I felt at peace. I felt calm. I felt relaxed. And I knew I had to learn more. So I threw myself into breath work and started studying breath work and continuing to explore with different sound medicine and vibrational therapies. And then I started to find my voice and started helping others find their voice, and ended up broke in Bali with a backpack and a guitar and 6 kilos of Himalayan singing bowls, and ended up coming to this country, not really sure how I was going to make it work, and still hadn't really fully found my groove in what my offerings were, other than these are the things that I do to help my soul and I want to help people with it. But I ended up going back to corporate, got a visa so I could stay in Australia, and started to build my business on the side.
I have a question to that. So if you said you previously had done this massive journey and found your voice and activated your voice, and you knew that this is what you were wanting to do, but now you're in this state, let's call it activated, and you have to go back to corporate. How was that experience?
Oh, it was really sad. I came back, the image of the tail between the legs of like, I couldn't make it work. I went all the way around the world to start a new life, only to find myself doing the exact same job on the other side of the world. So I came back, and I mean, there was a part of me that was really grateful to get money again. I, went a year and a half, just burned through all my savings, and had lived at different youth hostels. And I thought, oh God, I don't want to share a bunk bed room with 20 other 22-year-olds. And so it was a bittersweet. It was like, yay, I get to have a place again, and I can afford to, go out to dinners and things like that. But there was this like deep pain in my core that was like, oh shit, we're back where we left. But I know it was coming back full circle, but on a higher level. So having learned so much and having tasted all the different fruits of things that I would like pursue. So it was like, okay, didn't even know what sound healing was when I left San Francisco. Didn't know really much about breath work aside from the classical pranayama and yoga. Had no idea I could sing to the level that I do now. I was singing and playing guitar since I was 16, but so I scratched the surface on a lot of things during my journey and my travels, came back here, and sort of put the bowls up on the shelf and went back to corporate as a worker bee. And there was it was a bit disheartening. But then I was at yoga, and one of the yoga teachers was singing during Shavasana, and she had a lovely voice, but it was like this deep pain inside of me that was like, oof, you should be up there and you're not up there. Why aren't you up there doing that? And I went home and I cried. Why am I not doing what I've been put here to do? And I just talked to one of the teachers at the yoga studio, and well, I sing and I know some mantras, and I could maybe play at yoga. And that next thing you know, COVID happened, and then I was singing online on their live streams weekly with their yoga teacher for yin and sound healing. And then I started to get more comfortable doing that with groups, and then started to hold women's circles and gatherings, and it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then private clients, whether it was breathwork, sound healing, voice activation. And then it got to a point where I was getting pretty full, but also still clinging on to the safety and security of corporate. And I had to ultimately make the leap, and that was November of 2022. And I've been doing this now full time ever since. It feels good to be back.
Congratulations. I know it's like, just really letting go of that corporate income, I think is a big trust. So finding that trust within you, congratulations to that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been the scariest thing I've ever done. It's where we expand and grow, is when we lean into that fear, right?
So tell me about voice activation or sound healing. If you have a client that is coming to you, what does the sort of healing in itself look like? And also, what's the sort of journey? What are the problems they come to you for? And as what kind of person do they leave?
It depends what they're looking for in terms of they're looking to connect with their voice, to better articulate their boundaries, to speak up in meetings. And I say, let's go for voice activation. But if they come to me saying that they've got anxiety, they're feeling existential dread, they're, not handling stress well, they're feeling just, unable to deal, I would bring them in for a breathwork and sound healing journey. And that would be a 90-minute session that I take them through. We do a tea ceremony, drop into some intentions, connect to our hearts, the land, the space, and then take them through a really potent breathwork journey. So it's not your classical pranayama, it's intense, deep cyclic breathing. So more of the so we do that, and that's a nice, big, deep journey, which helps quiet the prefrontal cortex and allows the innate sensory wisdom of the body to heal and to kick on so that we can actually let the body do what it's meant to do. Because most of our ailments and disorders and diseases are caused because we're just not living embodied. We're living in the mind and we're living outside the body and looking at every other external circumstance. And when we can quiet the mind and return to body, the body starts to do all these magical, beautiful things like send energy where it needs to go to heal, to down regulate the nervous system. And so the journey starts with breath work, and then we end and integrate with the sound healing. So I always tell my clients the breath work is like the rattle, just shaking things loose, and the sound is like the waves, just ushering anything and everything that no longer serves just out to shore, and helping recalibrate your cells, and every molecule is being shifted with sound, but also with the vibrations of your own breath and moving that energy. So it's really, really deep healing work, and just honored to be able to share it. So oftentimes that's one-on-one setting, but I also do group workshops, private events, home visits. I just did a birthday where I took my friend and 12 of our other friends through a breathwork and sound healing journey at one of their houses. And it was a special way to celebrate. They didn't say that they had all, had anxiety and, needed it, but they think after session all felt very much so relaxed. Some had really emotional releases, so it can be very cathartic for some because it allows us to tap into feelings, emotions, and energies that are deep below the surface that oftentimes we don't get to when we're living in the mind. So it's powerful. And then I have a lot of clients who come to me during one of those workshops that say, I feel like I want to sing. You've awoken something in me. I want to sing. And I say, well, let's do voice activation together. So oftentimes breath work, at least for me, it was a massive catalyst in wanting to connect to a deep part of myself, because our voices are a direct living connection to the deepest parts of who we are. Our voice is the organ of the soul. And when we can connect with our voice, we can really get to better understand ourselves. So it's a great way to getting to know yourself better, is to really connect with your voice.
So there's something that I want to highlight here that is so profound that you are saying, that I've come across, and I think this is also why I am on the journey with Bliss Republic and wanting to share this message of connectedness, is that a lot of people who are disconnected from themselves are having all these ailments, but the focus becomes the sickness and the illness. And then what unlocks throughout that process of reconnecting in whatever way and shape that happens, I think it's a very individual journey as well. People connect to their creativity. In that space of creativity, I also find people reconnect to their intuition. Do you find you are relying a lot on your intuition?
Absolutely. I mean, when I'm guiding a client through a session, depending on what I'm feeling or sensing that they need, depending on our conversation, depending on what I get in the moment. So I'm channeling a lot throughout the sessions of what songs are coming through, not words or potential like meanings, but like what sounds do I feel need to be made? What crystal bowls, what frequencies do I want to play? Am I feeling they need the F bowl, the F for the heart? Do I feel they need more grounding, which would be the C note? So I'm tuning into that. But the thing that's so powerful about breath work is it's not me as a healer. It's me awakening the innate healing potential of the individual, of the client, because it's the breather who is doing the healing. And I'm there facilitating and holding space and obviously creating a beautiful environment for that to take place, a safe, and most importantly, a safe environment for that to take place. But really the beautiful part with this work is that it allows people to come to their own aha moments and realizations, especially at the end of the breath when we do the breath retention and they take a big breath out and hold it, and then they take a big breath in and hold it. And it's like being at the bottom of the ocean where everything's really calm. And when you take that breath back in, or when you let that breath back out and you come to normal breathing, that is when the integration starts to take place. And it's like you get these messages. I always compare it to like being plugged back into the grid, the source grid of our divinity, our supreme self. Call it God, call it spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's like being plugged back into that source. And for me, that was something I'd been missing pretty much my whole 20s when I was too busy chasing the corporate ladder and climbing it, and going up all sorts of wrong walls. But yeah, I didn't realize that this beautiful connection, we have it, we have access to it at all times.
So let's talk about this connection. That is quite fascinating, and I love working with that. If you would describe yourself and you take that stand on the viewpoint of this was Ali before, and this is now Ali following her purpose, what else happened for you? What other things have come out of this for you as a human, and especially as a woman?
Yeah, well, I think it's been a journey of accepting and honoring and really welcoming my femininity, because for me, I was very much so at a young age. I looked at my mom and sister, these wild emotional creatures of the moon. I looked at emotions and feelings as dangerous and a risk to my success. Looked at dad, the engineer, thought stable, logical, let's calculate, strategize, all of the things masculine. Let's go with that. Let's go for an engineering degree. Let's do this, all this stuff. And I think for me, as I've gone through this journey to really come home to me, I've come home to really soften into my femininity, to embrace it, and to let go of the hustle. I hustled so much to get to where I was in corporate and ended up there miserable and completely lacking that spiritual awareness or identity. And then coming here to really realign and shift to be in alignment with my calling or my dharma, whatever you want to call it, to feel that it's been really embracing myself as a whole. There's nothing wrong with being, masculine. We have masculine and feminine qualities in all of us, but I was overly dominated by the logic, the reason, the structure, the hustle, the chase, the do. And it's now been coming back into that flow, that magnetism. Like, I don't chase my dreams, I raise my vibe to attract them. I love that saying, because it really is, the more I lean into my intuition of connecting to what feels good right now. What do I need? Do I need to like bang out a bunch of content, or should I go on a walk and like get clear on what I actually really need to share with the world? And it's been that shift. And when I first, left corporate the second time around, I still was very much so in my head of, oh God, how am I gonna make this work? Blah, blah, blah. And I just had to fully surrender and get real deep into my spiritual practices and offer it to spirit. Like, I'm here to serve. I have, gifts to share, and, make me a conduit for healing, for humanity. And I've really just done that every day. And I soften and I relax. And so it's come through this, to long-winded answer to your question, is beautiful opportunities I've just landed in my lap because I've stopped forcing. It's kind of like the analogy of a feather. If you try to go grab it, you just keep pushing it away. And so I've just allowed myself to receive, which has been a big one, working on receiving. I was such a people pleaser for most of my life, saying yes to all the things I didn't even want to do because of, I don't know, to be liked, to be accepted, to be deemed as successful, all the things. And now it's honoring what feels good for me and letting myself receive.
I actually heard the other day, the opposite of belonging is to fit in. Because when we don't belong, we're not connected with ourselves, and we try to find and fit in all the pieces and make ourselves fit and wear a mask, and we don't really drop into that space where there's actually no fear.
Oh yeah, that was me, like my whole pretty much adult life or teenage to adult, I was, I'm gonna get an electrical engineering degree. Hey guys, I'm like so hot on like programming. And I was like, no, you don't care about any of this. You don't care about technology. You just want to go frolic outside barefoot. But I put on this mask of like, well, I want to fit in and I want to make a bunch of money because that's what I thought I needed to be happy, was climbing that corporate ladder and getting that incredible six-figure salary at some big tech company. And so I wanted to fit in so bad. It was at the sacrifice of my mental health and my well-being. And I know Gabor Mate said, you're going to have pain either way. And it's going to be either the pain of being who you are and not being accepted, or being accepted for being something other than who you truly are. Really, for me, it was like, yeah, I was being accepted for this mask that I was wearing as this like tech rock star, but the pain of not really being who I was hurt more. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe people don't accept me as I really am, but I'll take that any day over trying to fit in as a tech superstar, which I was pretty good. I was damn good at my job, but I just wasn't feeling it.
Connecting with your Dharma, connecting with your gift that you're here to deliver. For so many people out there, this is still, let's say, a very spiritual, woo-woo, intangible work. How do you navigate skepticism, and what's the typical skepticism or doubt or critique that you would get?
Well, I mean, I think there's tons of skeptics out there in terms of like breath work. What's that? Aren't I breathing right now? Or like sound healing? What? I've been pretty lucky though, in that I'm only attracting in my life those that resonate on the same frequency. We really are vibrational beings. So I'm attracting people who want what I've got. I'm attracting people who need what I have to share. I'm attracting people who want to collaborate and combine forces. So maybe it could be because I'm not putting myself in the cement jungle of the Sydney CBD and going around banging my medicine drum while everyone's in their monkey suits. Like, yeah, then maybe I'd get some like, what is this woman smoking? But like, if it's all about the environment, right? You see me banging my medicine drum like at North Head at a ceremony for the new moon, like we'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I don't go to places. I mean, I have quite a few corporate clients where I do go into corporate settings, and most often those people have never experienced sound healing forever. And I share a bit about how we live in a vibrational universe. I share about quantum physics, how it's proven that we are vibrational beings, and I use a lot of the scientific jargon that resonates, or at least makes people feel at ease in regards to scientifically proven. But at the end of the day, at the end of the sessions, people, almost all of them, have some sort of emotional response. Oftentimes tears. Most often it's tears, and people coming to. I felt like I connected with my mother who had passed, and she came through me in a message that I need to honor her and remember her, or I play a song that some guy remembered his dog died, and like things coming through that people haven't processed. So I find they may have been skeptics when they walked in, but when they leave, they are firm advocates.
When you say there are clients who had ancestral experiences, and I mean with people who have passed in their particular lives, is there a path of you connecting with your ancestors through this practice as well?
Oh, 100%. When I drop into ceremony, I always call in and connect with my ancestors. I call in my spirit guides. I call in angels, beings of the light. And now I don't necessarily see these beings. I can't see these spirit entities, but I trust that they're there. I trust that they're supporting me. Yeah, as woo-woo as one can sound, I call them in. I call them into the space, and absolutely honoring my ancestors and angels that are here to support me. I do that for my clients as well. Before we drop into ceremony, I ask them to really breathe into their hearts and call in their guides.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I've had recent experiences that had been extremely profound in connection with my ancestors. So I just wanted to share your viewpoint on that. So thank you.
Yeah.
With your aspirations for the future of sound healing, what do you think is possible with with developing the skill and growing this area. I really want to focus on the beauty of these new avenues of healing. People who know me personally know I'm not the biggest supporter of our academic system as it currently stands, in particular to healing professions. In the past, before we had this apparatus of academics, we had our ancestors, we had our spirit guides, we had our community people, our elders that we would turn to for help and support. And I believe this sort of communication and storytelling in particular has dropped out of our focus, and we now handed that power over to an accreditation. Where do you stand on your profession being accredited in the future?
Well, I mean, there are sound healing accreditation programs. There are tons of those. There's breathwork accreditation programs. What I'd like to see, though, is it being brought into more traditional ways of raising our children, of understanding how they can use their voices to downregulate their nervous system. I mean, just simple like buzzing bee or like that. I mean, scientifically proven, stimulates the vagus nerve. And when we stimulate the vagus nerve and increase that vagal tone, we support every function in our body. And so it's like, why don't we teach the kids this? And in some schools, don't get me wrong, they are doing that, but it's not necessarily mainstream, and it's not, I think, offered everywhere. And breath work and meditation and things like that. I'd say meditation has become a lot more widely accepted and brought into the school system. But I think I'd like to see sound healing being taken a bit more seriously and brought into, the medical world, and helping people get off of prescription medications, because like you said, we're treating so many of today's ailments and disorders symptomatically. It's just a bunch of band-aids, right? So if you've got sleep apnea, odds are you're not breathing properly. Yeah, so what are we going to do? We're going to stick a really expensive machine in your face when you sleep every night. But what about dealing with that person's ability to breathe as they're waking, day by day? Why not get them doing a breathwork protocol to retrain their breathing? I mean, you can cure sleep apnea with breath work. There's also insomnia. A lot of times there's some deeper, whether it's an emotional thing or it's just a matter of releasing stress, you can heal that with breath work. And people treating anxiety and depression with meds, again, this is breath work, this is sound healing, this is also community. And I think what's really beautiful about this conscious community movement of these drug and alcohol free gatherings, whether we're going to cacao ceremony or ecstatic dance or going to a sound bath or breath work, we're all there for a common purpose: to feel better, to evolve spiritually, to connect with something higher than our physical beings. And I think so many people are living lives of isolation, and it's really hurting humanity. So if we could really create more environments for people to get together in healthy ways, like I love a glass of wine here and there, but I really can't do it anymore because it makes me anxious. Any alcohol, if I eat sugar, I mean, again, time and a place for everything. You don't want to deprive yourself of all the things that bring you joy. But for me, the things that once brought me joy, like going out to the bar and having drinks with the girls, like actually throws me into a spiral of pretty gnarly anxiety. And I'd go as far as to say depression for a few days after that, because alcohol is a depressant. But yet we're, in a society that's, we're celebrating everything around sugar and alcohol, and it's making people feel like crap. And so I'm all about getting the word on healthy ways of living, sustainable ways of living, so that we're not hurting the planet, we're not hurting our bodies. And when we feel good, we can do more good. When we feel rested, when we feel supported, we actually have the capacity to reach out to our neighbor, to reach out to a friend and go, hey, how are you doing? Just noticing my nervous system. And I never really understood what state my nervous system was in prior to, really doing this work over the last 5 years. But now I know exactly when my nervous system is not in a good space. I'm either in a place to connect and to create, to share, or I'm in a place to run, to hide, and to isolate. And we know which one's which, right? Sympathetic fight or flight. You want to isolate, you want to binge watch Netflix, and you want to eat a bunch of ice cream. Yeah, that's your comfort mechanism. But really what we want to get to is like that feeling of just deep peace and relaxation, where we want to connect with people. We want to go outside. We want to create something. We want to get off our phones and talk to humans. It seems like a wild concept these days because phones and social media has just become such a such an addiction for so many people. So yeah, I could go on and on about all of that stuff, but yeah.
Which tags on a lot to, let's say, the Bliss Republic mission as well, is to help people reconnect to themselves so that they can holistically and fulfilled connect to other people. So this is coming back to being okay to say no to the distractions and turning away from alcohol, turning away from social media, really having the ability to connect to yourself. What were some of the biggest transformations that you have witnessed within your work?
I mean, one of the biggest ones was a client, actually a neighbor, who came knocking on my door in despair. She needed help. She has MS, and she had essentially, it's called trigeminal neuralgia, which feels like it's a neurological pain condition that feels like you're being stabbed in the eye with a knife. And her doctor sent her home on pain meds and said, "Well, you've got MS, so this kind of thing happens. Take these, wish you well." And that was kind of it. And she said she felt like a zombie. She needed help. She saw through social media that I was doing healing work. She's like, "I need a healer." Took her in. We did 3 sessions, and she was able to get off of all of her pain meds. The pain went away. We were able to heal it because we went deep. We quieted this neocortex of thinking mind and allowed her to connect to her body, to down regulate, to just completely shift gears into a parasympathetic, a rest and digest and reset state where whatever it was, I mean, likely it was a traumatic event that had been the catalyst for the pain condition. And when you have MS, all it takes is one really stressful event to throw that into disorder. And so we got down to the root of it and was able to resolve that underlying stress. And she's been off of all of her pain meds. I even emailed over 200 journalists to get this story in the mail or in the news, and managed to get it on Channel 7 News to feature it, to share that this is actually working for people. So we have a long way to go, but we're not that far at the same time. I think more and more stories are coming out like that. So that was a pretty massive one.
How does that feel compared to working with IT?
Oh, it's so different. I mean, right. The thing is, though, I managed to, even within program management, because I stopped doing the whole circuit board repairs years ago. I was working more as program manager. So I was working with teams and doing a lot of communication, and I was teaching meditation on Tuesdays. So I was able to bring me into it and rally up people into massive meetings and be sort of funny and, okay, today's agenda, quarterly planning. We're gonna have a great time. And everyone would be like, "Really? How is she so bubbly and excited?" So I brought me to it, and I was able to help people in other ways, whether it was the engineering manager to take the stress of coordinating with all the engineers or whatever it was. Like, I felt like I was still able to help people, but it's a very different flavor of helping and supporting, because when you look at, okay, we're doing all this stuff, we're working crazy hours for what? For some website? Okay. Was this website even really doing anything that great? Not really. So what am I doing? There's people out there that are deeply hurting, and I'm contemplating whether I put that on pause and work more, or say goodbye to that and go full-fledged. So I actually had originally asked to move to part-time, and they said no. And I'm so glad they did, because that forced me to just take the leap.
Beautiful. Would you be interested to do an impromptu sound healing with us?
Ooh, all right. I think I could. Okay, let's do some grounding sounds. Close down your eyes, breathe into your heart. Breathe it in, sigh it out. Ah.
Yummy. This was so nice. Thank you. What
You're
a reset.
welcome.
I feel like
Yeah.
now you're reprogramming people's nervous systems to program websites. So now there you go.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Thank you very much. That was really quite the pleasure.
You're
Um,
so welcome.
Quick question. You had an appearance on The Voice of Australia. What has that appearance done for you, and how has your life shifted since?
Well, it's been incredible in terms of exposure. I was able to get up on stage, and that little reel made it, I don't know, to 2 or 3 million people by now. So it was great in terms of getting me out there and bumping up my following on socials. So I went from about 3,000 followers to about 30,000, and that's been pretty steady since. So I think a lot of people, it brought awareness to a lot of people around what sound healing is. So not just for my own benefit, but for the greater good of my fellow sound healers out there. Brought quite a few clients. I think it's helped just get my name out there for different events and festivals and things, but nothing too crazy, nothing too dramatic. I'm not like closing out my calendar so people can't book in. Like I'm not booked out till the end of the year. I mean, I'm booked out for the next couple months, but nothing too crazy that I can't handle. But it's been really, really good. And it was a great experience for me to get out there and to self be seen and heard.
Being seen, how does that fit into your journey?
Oh, that's a big one. Growing up, I was the little sister. I was the chubby little sister of the most popular girl in school. So I was smart and funny. And I accepted that as that's me. Big sister's, the pretty one. I'm just gonna tinker away with Legos. I'm gonna be an engineer. I'm cool. I don't really need to deal with like styling and shopping and all the things. I was such a tomboy. And then I started to blossom into myself as into a woman and became a bit more comfortable with myself being seen. But again, in San Francisco, I was playing guitar very quietly, nonchalantly. It was like this secret little hobby of mine. And I had a friend in San Francisco who was very adamant that she wanted to play. She also played guitar, and she wanted to play at all the open mics in the city. So she dragged me out with her and she said, "You have to come. We are playing on Monday and on Wednesday and on Thursday." So every night of the week, there was a different open mic night at a bar. And I was so like, oh, I don't really want to do this. I don't really want to go out. I don't really want to be seen. And she was like, "Well, you have to create a Facebook music page so we can book gigs." And I was like, what do I have to do? Okay, fine. So I had to start so she pushed me and motivated me to put some videos, create some things on YouTube. And the next thing you know, I was doing feature sets at different bars in San Francisco. And I felt more comfortable on stage being seen. And then, yeah, coming to, this line of work with sound healing, and flash forward these years later where I was just at a festival holding a workshop for almost 100 women, a voice activation workshop. And there were no nerves. There was no panic. There was no, oh my God, what am I going to say? It's like, I am letting myself be seen. I'm letting myself be heard. I'm not going to stutter and freak out about what I'm about to say. I'm actually going to let it come to me in the moment. And it's been a journey of practice. And, the first women's circle I held, I full on had a piece of paper and an outline and bullets of things I wanted to say, and allowing myself to be seen. But yeah, I mean, I never thought I would be filming videos of me singing and sharing them with people all around the world on Instagram. I've gotten past the, oh no, how do I look? Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's all about me. It's like, it's not about me. It's about how I can make others feel. And if I can make others feel better, then I'll get over the whole like, oh, that angle doesn't look so good, or oh, you look fat there. It's like, just shut up. Just share your gifts. You've been given them by great spirit. And if you hold them in, it's just going to hurt. And you know this because you've experienced that. So it's now just like, I just let it move through me. I let myself be seen, because that is the only way I know I can really share these gifts, is to put them out in the world. And I love Jack Cornfield's quote, "Don't die with the music still in you." yeah, you could spend all your life waiting for the perfect moment where you're the perfect weight, you have the perfect recording setup, you've got the perfect camera, you've got perfect lighting, and then you'll just never do it. So I'm like, you know what? This is me. This is me. This is what we're doing. And as long as I'm 80% okay with it, it's enough to go out. And that's pretty much my Spotify recordings, which could use some improvement. And I've done them right here at this table. But as we go, we just go for it.
Love it. You have a couple of retreats coming up. Would you like to share something a little bit about that?
So on the 19th of April, I've got a men and women's day retreat in Balmain. We're calling it the Urban Soul Retreat. This was actually just birthed 2 days ago. So stay tuned for a booking link and all that. It will eventually be on my website and on my link tree on Instagram. And then September, I am going to be in Bali. So inviting my wild women. It's a wild women's reclamation retreat in Bali in Ubud, the 14th of September to the 20th of September. And I'm being joined by my incredible soul sister, Laura Bird, who is a dating coach, a feminine empowerment goddess. So yeah, I'm really excited to be joining her in that movement. So it's going to be pretty powerful and very liberating.
Beautiful. Well, I'm coming to the final question. What is the most important lesson you have learned about love and connection in your life?
The only one that needs to love me is me.
What does that mean?
That I don't need to seek love, connection, and validation from any external sources. Is that I am the one who needs to provide it for myself. Ultimately, that is where it all comes from.
Very beautiful. Thank you. So if people would like to find you, what's your website and how can they connect with you on social media? And what are the other things that they should know about working with you?
So I've got a website is aliskiba.com. My Instagram is Melodiousyogi, and I have quite a few offerings. So I've just finished a 7-week vocal awakening online course. So you can grab the course. It's self-paced and all pre-recorded, so you can journey at your own pace. 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, but there's 7 modules, each an hour long, to take you through a really, really deep vocal liberation experience. And also, I have 2 spots open for my mentorship program for this next cycle. And if you'd like to work one-on-one for voice activation, we can do that too. And then, of course, if you'd like to book in for breathwork and sound healing, you can do that on my website.
Ali, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Bliss Republic podcast. Thank you so, so much. And it was really, really beautiful to have you share all your experiences with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who can benefit from it. Have a beautiful day, bliss and bless.